So the stories we have for you today, we're going to be discussing Akufo-Addo's elephant-sized government, okay? We'll be discussing also the fight against galamsey, and then we'll also be discussing Ghana's security, looking at the issue of the policemen who have been murdered, or let's say killed, in the last 21 days. We have 3 different incidents of police killings, and it's becoming one too many. You know, so we're going to be discussing this. Now, I have been joined in the studio. My first guest is Fati Abubakar, who is a government spokesperson. She's a... Good morning to you, Fati.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, so she's the Deputy Director of Communications at the Presidency. How have you been this week?
Great.
You have been good?
Yeah.
All right. Let's begin to get into the conversation for the day. Now, the President said that he needed a lot of people in his government. First of all, he says that I am a person in a hurry. I'm a man in a hurry. It's too much to do. I can't afford to have the few people that other governments in the past have had, you know, and so on. And so he justified the reason for setting up several authorities, for introducing new ministries, you know, and he's been going on. Now we have 125 ministers so far, and counting. Who knows how many more are going to be added? The NDC, President Mahama says, look, listen, you don't need, you've got at least 40 ministers too many, all right? Is the president justified in having this number of ministers?
First of all, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and good morning to all Ghanaians. It's in the former president's comments I find needless anyways, but
why so?
But of course, he is entitled to his opinion, and we've always encouraged a culture where everybody will be able to express their opinions.
You don't think your opinion is valid?
Everybody is entitled to their opinion.
No, I'm asking
but
about
as
the
to whether
validity
it's
of the
necessary, I think it is not. The reason being that the framers of the Constitution were not wrong. Okay. They knew exactly what it takes to run a country, and they deposited all the executive powers in an executive president, knowing that he may need people to work with. In that light, President Mahama had the opportunity, looking at his focus, his direction, and his priorities, he had the opportunity to select any number of ministers that he felt he would need to execute the mandate that Ghanaians gave him. And he selected a particular number. If you could remember, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndiom in 2016 mentioned that he needed only 40 ministers to run this country, meaning that he also had a different focus, and if we put it vis-a-vis what President Mahama had, he would have also said that he was going to cut that number by about 50. The issue was that the executive powers that we have in this country, with the presidential system that we have, is deposited in the president. Every minister, every consultant, every spokesperson, everybody else who the president invites to come and assist in executing that mandate is an advisor or a consultant of a sort. President Akufo-Addo knew the mandate that he has been given, and he knew the magnitude of the mess that was left by the NDC government and what he needs to execute that mandate within a 4-year period. If in the interest of the people and the kind of speed at which the president wants to execute his work, if it will take the whole country to oil the wheels for us to be able to execute a satisfactory or a mandate that will be pleasing to the people, that's fine, we need to do so. President Mahama was at the presidency for 8 years, and I know at various levels of governance he's had the opportunity to participate at all levels, and he was at the presidency for 8 years, and he had all the opportunities and powers he needed to execute what he thought was a mandate that Ghanaians gave to him. And he did his best. I believe Ghanaians gave a verdict in 2016, in December 7th. So on December 7th, the Ghanaians gave a verdict on what they thought he was doing, whether they needed to go with his direction or not. And we knew the outcome. It was unequivocal. A whole 1 million of our population said that, okay, we may not be strictly NPP or strictly NDC, but we believe at this point in time, this is the direction we want the nation to go. I believe it is only fair that he gives the president the opportunity to serve his 4-year term. Then he will be able to justify whether there was a need to have those numbers or not. But as it stands now, we know that this is, under the Fourth Republic, this is one of the most efficient government that we have run in this country. Why am I saying so? This government has been able, even before the end of the first year of the president's term, before the end of the first year, he's been able to execute one of his flagship projects, which is the free SHS. And beyond that, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of agriculture and so on, the president is doing so much.
Feti, how many ministries do you need to execute free SHS? I mean, honestly, it's like your every answer to every challenge that the government is facing is free SHS. It would seem that way. How many? You say he's been able to accomplish one of the flagships. Fantastic. Everybody agrees that free SHS is important. How it's rolled out, people will argue. But that's not my challenge this morning. For example, we have the Ministry of Procurement. Mm-hmm. But in every ministry, there's a procurement department. So what really is the function of the Ministry of Procurement? Why do we need an entire ministry? Is it not duplication of efforts, duplication of roles, and therefore creating a certain nebulous and amorphous space within which people can play and say, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and so on? It's like, who do you hold responsible for any act?
Okay, first of all, let me correct this impression. We don't use every opportunity to talk about free SHS. The reason being that the government has done so many things. Okay. We've achieved so much within a short period. But because this debate or this conversation about free SHS has cropped up in the past week, we use the opportunity to talk about it. But it is not even in our interest to talk about only free SHS because the government has achieved so much. This issue about procurement, we've been reading the Auditor General's reports in recent times, or even year on year. Especially look at the 2016 Auditor General's report. You will know that one of the major challenges this country has faced ever has to do with inflation of contracts, procurement breaches, and what have you. We have the opportunity to serve under a president who believes he has to tighten the procurement structures that we have in this country. And if it calls for getting a minister who will report directly to the president, a minister who will possibly get more opportunities than all these department heads that you are talking about, then so be it, because the kind of losses that the country makes with respect to procurement, if we want to talk about one of the major areas that already was struggling that we need to critically look at, that should be procurement should be one of them. And I must say that all the examples that the former presidents gave, if you look at them ministry by ministry, you may not even know which one to even take out. Let's take the railway ministry, for instance. They talk about infrastructure, but to the NDC, the infrastructure is about putting 1 or 2 asphalts. But infrastructure is more than that. The railway...
Could railways not have fit, railways aviation, could they not fit comfortably under transport?
Comfortably.
Why separate them when you can put them under transport, crack the whip, create enough financing for the Ministry of Transport, and here we go.
For instance, our economy is expanding.
Okay.
The economy is growing. We even want it to happen at a very fast pace. We don't want the status quo. We want something more radical. We want something to happen now. If it means bringing a lot more hands, so be it. The issue being that, look at our aviation sector.
Yeah.
just take, for example, the number of tourists who have visited this country in the name of year of return. The security aspect of it, the technical aspect of it, so many aspects of it, even the contractual relations that and all the infrastructure that you need to put in place and all that.
Yeah.
If it means you need to get someone who will specifically take up that responsibility of ensuring that we are expanding and we are expanding at a faster pace, I believe it is necessary. Let's look at the railway sector. The kind of infrastructure, we know the railways, the infrastructure for the railway sector was virtually dead. I saw on another platform an interview with the railway minister, and he said that for 11 years until 2018, no train had moved to Takwa, which was serious. We know the kind of deficit that we have. And under successive governments, we know that we've had the Ministry of Transport. But has the railway sector been a priority? Definitely it hasn't been. If it had, we would have seen the kind of results that we all want to achieve. Even as compared to other countries in this West African sub-region, in terms of railway development, I feel they are far advanced as compared to Ghana in terms of the quality of infrastructure that they have. This government only has 4 years to go back to Ghanaians to report on its stewardship. And looking at the kind of confidence reposed in the government, we cannot just say that, okay, because someone is concerned about this number of ministers or what have you, okay, we should leave the job. It is a responsibility. How we will execute it, we would report on that stewardship come December 2020.
Okay.
For instance, if you look at this issue about the regional reorganization, there has been a call for, especially look at Western North. Someone cannot go to the regional capital and return the same day. And we have all these infrastructure, high courts, most of these statutory agencies at the regional capitals. People were really struggling. For someone who did not see it as a priority, wouldn't think that there was a need to have a ministry to spearhead the reorganization and setting up of these 6 regions. But if you get to the grounds, you would realize that the people in OT region, the people in Savannah region, the people in Western North and what have you really appreciate the kind of efforts that this government had to make.
So I want to for viewers to have a certain context. Okay, Ghana has approximately 30 million people, right? We have over 100 ministries. When you go to China, China has over 1 billion people, okay? Now, if we want to look at the context of it, 1 billion people is more than 30 times the size of Ghana's population. More than 30 times, okay, the size of Ghana's population. Almost 40 times the size of Ghana's population. Now, they have 21 ministries. 21. We go to China to borrow money from China. We are asking the Chinese to come and invest in Ghana. And then we turn around and we have 120-something ministries, okay? And we justify it. I don't understand how that's justifiable.
You know, it's not about justification. I have heard this position before, and I've been privileged to interact with some people from some of these countries. And the mistake that has been made, or the mistake that has led to this perception, is that some people may not appreciate the fact that there are differences in governance infrastructure, especially when we compare federal governments to governments that are running under the unitary system. If you take a country like Germany, yes, they may not have many ministers at the national level, but what we fail to note is that in terms of resource mobilization, taxation, running of the executive actually happens at the state level. And at that level, they have all these parallel structures, even in larger numbers, as compared to the ceremonial positions that some of those countries may have at the national level. And when we usually make those comparisons, we fail to appreciate the size of those governments, because they run it at the state level even more, in more detail and more effectively as compared to the to the national level. But if you come to our situation, the whole executive runs straight through the president's hierarchy, and the powers per the constitution gives that mandate to the president, who has to appoint his ministers. And in terms of the numbers, we are not talking about just sector ministers. Some of them are ministers of state. We are talking about regional ministers and deputies and all that. And even with the regional reorganization, knowing the extent of expansion and all that, would definitely call for getting people who will be on the ground exercising those executive powers. And I believe we should always have this conversation or debate in that context, knowing that it is never the same comparing the numbers from one country to another without taking into consideration the system of government that they are running in those respective countries.
Okay, so Fatih, you seem very convinced that this is the way we should go. I've been joined also by my other guest, Mahama, who is a deputy organizer, women's organizer at the NDC. I don't know if you've followed any of the conversation that we've been having so far, but basically the issue of the size of government. And Fatih has so eloquently suggested that it's necessary for, you know, smooth running of the operations of what it is that our president seeks to achieve. Your erstwhile President Mahama says that it's too much. What's your response to what Fatih has been saying?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to apologize for being late. Yes, when it comes to the number of ministers, I think that even a child on the street will agree that the numbers are too many. In every outfit, be it private outfit, be it public outfit, be it, you know, if you have too many people working at the same thing, there's bound to be inefficiencies, because you'll have people assuming that somebody is doing it. You know, there's never a proper clear cut.
Now, Fatih would have us to believe that it's more efficient to have more people.
It is, I mean, it is only automatic for her to defend her government, you know. But honestly, it is unnecessary. And it is such a burden on the taxpayer, because every minister is given some form of transportation. And in Ghana, we give Land Cruisers and all of that. They do not pay fuel. They're given salaries. They have offices to maintain. They have homes that are given to them because they are public officers, you know. And it is such a toll on the taxpayer. And like you mentioned earlier, this country is only a developing country. You know, there's so much we can do with the little money we have. But if we're spending the money on give the boys jobs or jobs for the boys, it is unfortunate. There's so much more we can give to the boys. There's so much more we can show. There's another way of showing appreciation to the boys other than just giving them jobs. And it is not just the jobs, it is not just the ministries. But when you look at Nana Addo's government in particular, I mean, it is full of family and friends. It's as though he owes every family member and friend a favor. So he must put them here, he must put them there. And it is just not right for the country. It's as though we are not looking at the country as a whole, but we are just looking at the MPP party, and we are looking at just a few people who should benefit. What about the regular taxpayer? What about, you know, other public outfits that we need to look at so that the country benefits from it? You know, so for me, I mean, you gave example from China. China has such a huge population, but you have just a few people managing it, and managing it so efficiently. I think that we need to introduce efficiency into our system than introducing too many people who will do nothing about what positions they've been given. Some of the ministries, I mean, tell me, what do they do? You hardly hear about them. You hardly hear what they're doing. Some of them is so unnecessary, you know. I'm trying to remember some of them that are, you know, some of the ministries are in the Jubilee houses and all of that. And they are just...
The new ones, we have procurement, we have monitoring and evaluation.
Procurement used to have a huge department on its own. You know, they had a huge department on its own. So why would they need a minister of state? Why would they want to spend that extra money? You know, Alhaji Awal's ministry, for instance.
We've actually created a procurement authority. So it's a whole authority. Now, my challenge with that, and I was asking Fatih earlier on, that every ministry has a department for procurement, you know, so then is there no duplicity of efforts and so on? But don't comment on that. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. And you've been sending us messages as we talked about at the beginning of the show. So let me read a few of those messages, and then we'll continue with Mami Efua. All right, so this elephant-sized government is so alarming, and the president must be called to order. What is the population size of China and their economy? Compare their ministers to a developing country of ours. It looks like David Hassan was thinking the same thoughts I had. Farouk from Tema says, Ex-President Mahama, would you please stop the propaganda and focus on your message for Ghanaians? This politics of deceit and deception must stop. Mr. Mahama, you had your chance and messed up, so please stay off. The newly improved mining law is welcome. 15 to 25 years in prison should be punitive enough to scare illegal miners. My regards to Kwame Edudakwa and Nana B. This is Farouk from Tema. All right. Hashtag Breakfast Daily. This elephant size of a government is doing us no good but harm. And I wonder if we're truly protecting the public purse or making efficient use of the scarce resources that we have. This is Francis from Hohoi. And we also have one more here. Good morning. The elephant-sized government was the song that the MPP was singing when they were in opposition. The president promised Ghanaians that he will cut down the size of ministers when giving the mandate. And what are we seeing today? Any government that does not honor its promises and listen to the people is, I will not use that word there, but it's not a flattering word describing the government. And he says Nana Addo's government is no exception. This is Sochi from Yendi. All right, so we're talking about the size of the government, and you were making a final submission before we went for the break.
Yes, I was saying that a position like the senior minister's position, for instance, what exactly has he impacted? If he was an advisor, say economic advisor to the president or something, it would be understandable. But his whole package as a senior minister, I find it so unnecessary. We have procurement ministry, that was what we were talking just before we went off. I mean, like you mentioned, we have procurement departments in every ministry, and apart from that, we have a whole outfit for procurement. You know, is it that they are inefficient, or they need more people, or they, you know, some of the ministries can be merged. We have railway, aviation, and transport. Correct. I mean, I remember in the past, all of it was put together because it was all one form of transportation or the other.
Okay, but in Fatih's defense, if you put railway, aviation, and transport together, the history of governments in the Fourth Republic has shown that railways has gone down, aviation has also gone down. So maybe the president saw fit that, look, let's separate them and let's hold them accountable so that we can actually expand those sectors. So maybe in their defense, this is the reason why they've gone the way they've gone.
Tell me, what effect has railway been in this government?
They say they're doing
What are they doing?
They are preparing.
I mean, you see, we are not serious as a people.
They're signing contracts. They're laying tracks.
I mean, the last thing I read was that they are even building a university for railway when we don't have a proper railway system. You know, sometimes I ask myself that it looks like this government. We always look at the end before we actually start. I'm fighting for the right words to use, but we are building a university for railway when we don't even have one proper railway line running. Go to China and see how technology has developed their railway.
Yeah, but
you know,
in fairness,
there's so much we can do.
In fairness, when you say that, I think the argument would be that if we're going to build a proper railway economy, then we need people who are educated in the sector to man that economy. So if they're doing, on one hand, laying tracks, signing contracts, and so on, they're looking into the future. But who's going to feed that system if you don't have educated people?
I understand that.
So it makes sense to me.
No, but I thought that, you see, if we had all of it together as a transport ministry, as it used to be, we'll have director for railways, we will have director for, and these are already civil servants that are in the system and probably would have some background to the office that they hold. Apart from that too, we have always as a country had consultants that support us. We have, NPP has such a fantastic relationship with the Chinese government. Are we saying that we cannot have a few people go and understudy, we cannot have a few people consult, you know, with the minister and see how technology can support our railway system? What we are doing is the same 19 Kojo system kind of railway. And you ask yourself that as a country, do we go back or we go forward?
Did not have light rail. So now...
You've seen light rail in this country.
But that's what
technology.
The minister said he's introducing light rail.
Oh, and I mean, they say a lot of things that they don't do jack about it.
Sky rail.
So
you heard about Sky rail, right?
And it's here?
No,
we're talking about Ghana.
He's bringing light rail in the air.
In the air.
Yes.
Even the ones on the ground, they haven't seen top. Then the ones in the air. What infrastructure have they put in place for the ones in the air? You know, I mean, talk is cheap. And I think that what we have done to ourselves as a people is we just keep talking and talking and talking, and we do not walk the talk.
Okay.
And I think that is unfortunate. We have young people, my fear has always been that we have young people that are looking up to us. They're looking up to the leaders of this country. And unfortunately, the leaders are just not up to it.
Okay.
The leaders are disappointing, unfortunately.
All right. Just 1 minute rebuttal before we go to the next topic. We need to go. We're running out of time.
Yeah, I believe my sister should have given this advice to President Mahama to take Dr. Indum's advice to appoint 40 ministers and not what he had.
Oh, because you have 40 ministers?
If that is the tangent, then we should have gone with it. I believe it's just about your priorities, your vision and direction. And just one quick thing. My sister mentioned this family and friends government. And I want to put it on record that even in opposition, when President Mahama got the only opportunity to appoint, he appointed his sister as a spokesperson. And this issue about family and friends, I think, is unnecessary because it was not found...
Who is the sister?
Oh.
Who was the sister who was the spokesperson?
Madam Joyce Bawa Mukhtari is related to the former president. He had the opportunity to appoint anybody else, but he appointed his sister. And this tag of family and friends was given to the NDC by Honorable Bagbin. And I believe that is not transferable. It is something that was given to them. It's not a phrase that is familiar in our body politic. Now, let's come to this issue about government size. I don't understand why the NDC has failed to appreciate that if there was a need to put a cap on the size of any government, those who gave the president the power would have stated that. At the end of the 4 years, people are going to judge you on your ability to execute your mandate and not the size of your government.
Maybe we need to review that.
I think
and
so.
not the size of your government.
NDC had 83 ministers at the time.
We can't keep expanding.
And a verdict was given on the performance of those 83 and that verdict was clear.
No, fair enough. But based on that logic, it means we can keep going till we get to 1,000.
Can you imagine?
And it just doesn't make any sense. We need to have
when the country sees the need to put a cap on it, they will do so. But recognizing that the executive powers are given to a president, he has the opportunity to appoint whoever in his direction and vision he believes will help him achieve that that goal that he has set.
Okay, fair enough.
I believe that should set.
Let's move on to the next topic. Well, in the next topic that we have, we want to discuss the issue of the new sentence regime that the Parliament has brought for the executive to sign into law. The president is now the minimum sentence now is 15 to 25 years as a maximum. Let me start with Mami Efua on this one. Is that enough? Is it prohibitive enough? It sounds like it, considering that the first one was 5 years maximum. But is the government doing enough, and is the sentencing regime now adequate?
Well, like I keep saying, I think that this government always looks at the end and not really start small from the beginning. When it came to Galamsey, you know, trying to streamline it, I remember that President Akufo-Addo, when he was in opposition, kept saying that he will do something about it. He will make sure that it works better than it was. But what has he done? I remember he said that he would, you know, abolish abolish small-scale miners and all of that. But here we are. It looks like the whole of Ghana has been reduced to the size of MPP supporters, because what happens is that MPP supporters are the main people mining in our Galamsey sites right now.
Really?
Yes,
Based
most
on what?
of them.
Why do you say so?
Look, when
I'm not sure if it's factual.
It is factual. Most of them. I mean, there are proportions and all of that.
Based on what? What literature you have?
Look, I would mention this. I just think that the government does not have what it takes to whip people when they make mistakes.
Well, that's on one hand, but to say that in the majority of Galamsey are MPP people,
they are. You go out there and check for yourself.
So that's anecdotal evidence. That's not literature.
It is correct. It is correct. You may go. I'll go out with Fatih and we'll go there and see the numbers. You know what I want to say is that when Captain Mahama was killed, for instance, on the same Galamsey thing, you know. And we found the MPP executives being a part of these Galamsey players. What happened to them? Even to apprehend those who killed him, those who murdered him, nothing has been done.
Really?
Yes, nothing. Just they put a statue to in his honor, and that's about it. You know, we do not punish enough so that people would respect the laws. We do not punish enough.
You are aware, though, that there are people currently in court over this matter?
Over the Mahama matter?
Yes.
Because they were not satisfied the way it was handled by the government. Were they
No,
satisfied?
there are people who were actually arrested for his murder, and they are currently in court over the murder.
Is it the people who murdered him?
The people who were the murderers, the accused murderers are in court and being prosecuted on this matter. My dear,
I mean, today even.
So you can't say that nothing has been done.
No, nothing has been done. I would say that, and that is because we had pictures, we had videos, we saw them beat him up, we saw the people.
And those
we had
people who
pictures
were
of
seen
them.
are
We saw
in
people
court.
put a match
Yeah.
on his body. We saw people burning him. We saw all of that. What has happened to those people?
They're in court.
Those are evidence enough for them to be in jail right now, other than being in court.
But it's a process. So you go to court first and then you get sentenced.
I just think, you know, there's something. If it was on the other side, okay, they would have been bundled and put in jail, you know. And all I'm trying to say is that this government is just not fair across. The government is just not fair across. When it comes to people who are members of his party, supporters of his... I mean, look at this BCU issue. There was a camera. There was evidence. He taking money. What has been done about it? Nothing. Okay. What has been done? Because this government does not name and shame its own. Okay, there's no proper leadership. There's no example by leadership.
Let me have Fatih answer to your allegations. Now, you heard what she said.
Yes.
But what do you think?
I was just laughing. You know, I think the NDC is unfair. If this is the position that my sister is communicating as the official position with regards to specifically this Captain Mahama issue, now Major Mahama. I believe this is one of the few instances that as a nation we all came together recognizing some individuals who sacrificed for the country. Let me specifically talk about Major Mahama, and in course of his work he met his untimely death. We treated this issue with so much sympathy and so much seriousness to make sure that the justice that this gentleman deserves was given. Let's look at the situation. If not for anything, I believe the NDC can give credit to the Ages Department, which has taken this issue up seriously. You can go to the High Court and find out at what stage that this case has gone to. I am not a lawyer on the case. I don't have any official connection with respect to this case. But I have specifically asked questions, even at the court, even some state prosecutors, knowing the extent of engagement with witnesses, where the processes have gone, the committal, even the arraignment, everything that they have done. I'm aware of the seriousness that this government has attached to this specific issue. On top of that, you know, the president gave him a posthumous award,
yes,
and elevated him
yeah.
to the rank of major. And so many things have transpired between the family of Major Mahama and the president. And on top of that, the Defense Ministry decided to honor him by erecting a statue in his honor.
I want you to tackle the issue of illegal mining and what it is that this government is doing to truly stamp it out, truly make it prohibitive for anybody to even consider to go into it. The president has signed into law now minimum, and he says that, look, he's taking away the discretionary decision making from the judges, because he feels as though if he so far people have been able to get away with quote-unquote murder, right? So now 15 years is the minimum, or 150,000 penalty units, right? If this has been happening, this is what he's put into place now, why have we not seen prosecutions prior to this based on video evidence that we have? She made, Mamie made allusion to the fact that we've seen videos. We've seen people, including Mr. Bisu, on a video receiving money, apparently for, facilitating certain things regarding Galamsey. It looks as though this seems to be one of those maneuvers that the president will do to keep up the appearance of being effective.
That is absolutely false. When it comes to this specific issue that you've mentioned, let's remember that the special prosecutor is also an appointee of the president.
Yes.
And he has granted several interviews talking about his interest in this case and the extent to which he is going. I believe we need to recognize the fact that the NDC's perception of justice or jungle justice does not have a place in a democracy.
What's jungle justice?
Oh, maybe in their interest, she's saying we saw some people beating somebody or we saw somebody collecting something. So in their perception of what justice should be, maybe we should bring these people and beat them on TV or whatever she thinks is appropriate.
Because most of them have been acquitted and discharged.
But if you want to follow procedure in a democracy, then we should allow the legal system to take care of some of these issues. There was this issue that there was one statement she made about the president campaigning on abolishing small-scale mining. Let me put it on record that at every point in time I was with the president in course of the 2016 campaign, and he did not make such a statement at any point in time. What the president sought to do was to abolish illegal mining and also to regulate small-scale mining. And if you look at this government's commitment to this illegal mining issue, in the past decade that this issue has been given all the prominence that we see, because most significantly, all these illegal miners most of them were mining in water bodies and causing serious havoc for the country, and also destroying so many forests or vegetative cover that we have, that we need to rely on for the betterment of our climate as a country. You could see that these past few years, 2.5 years that President Akufo-Addo assumed office, has been the very period that we have taken this Galamsey fight head on. The media joined in anti-Galamsey campaign. The president decided to suspend this licensing for small-scale mining in order to have an audit to determine which ones were doing the right thing and which ones did not. On top of that, they decided to allow those who were legitimate to go back to business. The president introduced alternative livelihood for these galamseyers so that those who were doing the illegal mining will get alternative businesses in their communities so that they can stay away from it.
Does that not feed into the perception that there's a lot of leniency, you know? It's illegal. If it's illegal, then it's a crime. If it's a crime, why am I then also, you know, finding a way to cushion you when you are a criminal?
I will come to that. The president has also dealt with a lot of communities, creating over 4,500 opportunities for in terms of the community mining program that the president has introduced. Now let's talk about this leniency issue. When it comes to illegal mining, the issue has different components to it. There are people who have talked about this position of unemployment over a decade that even graduates were facing, non-skilled people were facing, and at the end of the day, they believe whatever it takes, people will go to every extent to make sure they put food on their table, even if it means they have to destroy the environment. So for such a complex social issue or such a complex national interest issue, we cannot just look at it from one side.
Aisha 1?
Now,
what about Aisha 1?
Yes, I'm coming to that. Now, what the president seeks to do with this assent is to give a clear direction as to how illegal miners should be dealt with. You were talking about the maximum sentencing. When we have a statutory provision on maximum sentencing, where minimum sentencing is not provided, it means the person can be sentenced for even a day.
Yes.
So there was nothing like a clear direction as to how we should go. Now the president, through this amendment of the Section 99 of the Act and other amendments, is seeking to place a minimum sentence of 15 years.
No, but there was already a minimum sentence of 5 years.
But that was small. That is what people were saying was lenient.
I agree that
it was small.
Yeah.
And now to move it between 15 to 25 years is serious enough.
But even under the 5 years, we've not seen anybody who was being sentenced for that period.
The way our
so
court
the
processes
question
are,
is that the 15 years, what difference is it going to make?
You know, when it comes to reportage of what happens in court, a lot of the issues are lost in the media space.
Okay.
I believe it's one thing that maybe you, as a station, you would like to take up. So many things happen in court. So many people are prosecuted. So many people are in prison. But maybe because they are not politically exposed or they are not big men or big women in court, all those stories are under the carpet. People don't get to see the seriousness of some of these issues. So now let's look at this issue of illegal mining. It did not start with President Akufo-Addo, but once again he said because it borders on the general development that we want for this country, we have to take it up head on, and that is exactly what the government is doing. Yeah.
Quick rebuttal, we need to go to the last topic.
Yes. I would like us to look at the effects of illegal mining. You know,
the rivers are still murky.
The rivers are still murky.
Yep.
People are drinking unwholesome water or poisoned water. We have even our beaches looking brown instead of looking green or blue. You know, we used to have this turquoise color for the beaches. But now, what has happened to it? What has happened to it? Here we are again talking about Galamsey. And this is not the first time Galamsey has come up on this table. We have discussed Galamsey over and over and over. Unfortunately for us now, we have the Chinese on the fields mining Galamsey.
Okay.
I mean, mining there.
Yes.
You know, and you ask yourself that, did you take away the so-called illegal miners? Did you take away the locals just to replace them with illegal Chinese miners? I mean, who are we as a people?
Right,
and where do we want to go to as a country? Looking at the effects of this Galamsey. Tomorrow, your child and my child will have to buy every drinking water from outside of Ghana.
All right, let's touch quickly on the last topic, which is talking about Ghana's security. We have a situation where about 3 weeks ago, a policewoman was gunned down by assailants. Some people have been arrested. Just yesterday, we had 2 policemen killed, one in the eastern region, Manson Kwanta, and another in the eastern region, Achem Swedru. What's going on here? Because, you know, if the police who are supposed to protect us are also under fire, you know, then what kind of system do we have that will guarantee our security? You want to take it? Just a minute. We don't have time.
First of all, my sympathies to the families of these gentlemen and lady who lost their lives in course of, you know, working for this country. It's a difficult situation, because as we are civilians, I don't own a gun and I don't intend to own one. At every point in time, we pray that these skilled men will be in the position to protect us and our families. Their work is so risky. There is so much risk involved in this in the security service, especially those who are deployed to go to the various communities to work, because directly they come into contact with all sorts of persons, including criminals. I believe this issue is something that the police service and other security agencies who have the know-how should take seriously. We should not allow the impunity to happen. Criminals should not think that they are so empowered to the extent that they think they can even attack the very people who are protecting our society. So when it's time to prosecute, I believe they should treat it with the seriousness that it deserves.
Okay, any final thoughts?
Yes, I mean, I would also like to send my condolences to the families that have lost these precious men and breadwinners in their families. I think that the police system or the security system should be looked at again. There should be probably nationwide network. They should have bulletproof vests when they are, you know, when they are duty. In the course of duty, they should have. They should be properly trained, you know, so that they would know how to handle some of these things. But I'd like to end by saying that the security in this country has been alarming. We've always had problems, but this time it's been escalating? It's escalating. Okay,
all right. We don't have time to go into all of those. No, I'm sorry, we don't have time to go into all of that. All right, so fantastic. Thank you very much for watching this segment of the show. Up next will be the consumer segment of the show, consumer technology segment of the show. Don't go anywhere. I was joined by Mahama Akufo-Addo, who is Deputy National Organizer for the NDC, and also Fatih Abubakar. I almost give you an extra to your name. Fatih Abubakar, who is a Deputy Director at of Communications at the Presidency. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.